Welcome to another AgGateway Global Network video. I'm Jim Wilson, President of AgGateway Global Network, and in this video, Tim Shearouse and Tarak Reddy with John Deere and Stuart Rhea with Ag Connections walk through the process of using GitHub with Adapt.
So this is Tim Shearouse, a tech lead from John Deere. Been working with the Adapt project as the code governance lead. And we wanted to run through a little bit of GitHub, how the source control works, where everything is, and how to commit to our project. If you go to github.com/adapt, you'll find three individual source code repositories. The Adapt repository here up top has the actual Adapt framework. It has a visualizer that is just a troubleshooting tool, and past that, it's the code representation of the data model, the representation system, the plugin manager, all of those little API tools. If you go into one of the plugin repositories instead, here's the ISO version 4 plugin that maps between the Adapt data model and ISO XML, and the ADM plugin, which just serializes the Adapt object model. For now, I'm going to stick with the Adapt framework repository. Once you select a repository in GitHub, there's a few different places you can go. You can clone or download here if all you really want is to take a look at the files. That's not terribly helpful if you want to contribute code. What you really want is to fork the repository. These settings up here tell you whether you're going to get email notifications when the repository changed. Star as just a GitHub thing. And fork means I want to have my own copy of this source code repository in my own account. And since I'm logged into my account, it tells me that I already have an existing fork of this repository. And you can see now that we're under my account /adapt, forked from adapt. So what this just gives me a local copy of, well, not local. It gives me my own copy of the code hosted under my account. And so I have complete rights to modify any of this. I can make changes to it and pull it down to my local computer, make changes, push it back up to my fork of the repository. And when I'm done making changes, I can go back to the Adapt repository and create a pull request. Pull and push are a little counterintuitive in GitHub. A pull request is actually a request that the Adapt project pull code from my fork. So so a lot of people think it makes more sense to call it a push request because I'm pushing code from my repository to the Adapt repository. I don't know why they called it the way they did, but if you do hit the button to create a new pull request, though, by default, it tries to create a pull request across two branches of the Adapt repository. And that's not going to work if you're working off a fork. You need to hit this little link up here that's actually really almost hard to see. Hit that compare across forks link, and the screen changes a little bit. So the base fork is going to stay adapt. That's the main repository. And the head fork, we're going to change to my fork of the Adapt repository. And here's where, if you have created multiple branches in your Git fork, in your copy of the code. If you created multiple branches, you can select the branch you would like to work from here. So if you have a dev branch, or if you created a branch for a specific issue or defect that you're working on, you can select it here. And once the diff looks the way it should, once it seems like the code is correct, and in my case it's not. These are very, very old changes that don't look right. But you'll hit the Create Pull Request button and just put a quick description in here and any comments in the window down here. One fun little trick that you can use here, if you're working on an issue, if someone has logged a bug as an issue in your repository, you can grab that issue number. Let's just pick a random one here. You can grab that issue number, copy and paste it in your pull request. It actually doesn't work in the title, but in the comments I can say working on issue 108, and as long as that pound sign is there, it will recognize that as an issue number and automatically create a link to it. So anyone looking at that pull request can click on 108 and jump directly to that issue. And I'm not going to finish writing a title for this pull request because I don't have any actual changes that I'd like to contribute. This is just a high-level overview. I think Stuart on the call has some changes that he's hoping to commit and create a real pull request. And Tarak was going to give us an overview of source tree, a quick GUI UI that you can install on your computer to manage your GitHub repositories.
So, Tim, could you cover a little bit about the issues too, so people know how to create an issue in GitHub?
Sure. So if you don't want to, push code, or if you just want to track your work, the issues here in GitHub are brief ways you can request or document a change that you would like made. It's easy if you would like to log a new issue. If you see something that just doesn't seem right or seems out of sync or that needs changed in the code, you can hit New Issue, and similar to creating a pull request, just give it a title and document what you see, document the problem or the change request in the editor window. If your problem is with a specific commit or with code that came in on a particular pull request, you can go and find that commit number and reference that. And actually, next to the commit number, there's a little copy button that lets you do that. You can grab the commit number, copy that, and reference it in the text in the comments of your issue. And again, to anyone reading this in the GitHub UI, it will just create a link that will take them directly to the commit or pull request that you're objecting to. Otherwise, just document what needs to be changed. And then when someone goes in to fix that issue, again, they can reference it by number in the pull request. Now, if you go to the Adapt Wiki, and I don't know if I have it bookmarked, but you can get to it from adaptframework.org. If you go to the Adapt Wiki and start poking around in the Atlassian forums here, we do have a set of recommendations or code quality guidelines. And if you are contributing to the project, we'd ask that you take a look at those. They should be really straightforward. Most of them honestly just link to MSDN articles or other documents recommending a standard set of capitalization rules, a standard set of code formatting rules, etc. It's brief. It's just a one-pager that links to some best practice guidelines. Our intent was not to create a 100-page document enforcing everything about your code. Our intent was just to throw out some guidelines so that people aren't writing drastically different looking code and then trying to merge it all together. So with that, unless there are any questions, I will hand this over to Tarak to give a brief overview of source tree.
Yeah, I think let's probably make Stuart the presenter, and Stuart could bring up his screen.
Okay, so are you seeing the source tree application?
Yeah. So Stuart, we'll do two things over here. Since you probably have the adapt repository already on your machine, we will show how to add an existing folder, and then we'll probably pull the ADM. Do you have the ADM plugin on your machine?
I do not have.
Okay, so we will
now. Are we going to be adding against the my fork of the adapt repository, or are we going to be adding against
both
the the actual adapt repository?
We'll do both so that you can see differences, plus just to keep a copy of the original repo too, just for reference.
I think we should work purely off of forks. I think Stuart might have enough access rights to push directly to the adapt repository, but in general, people don't.
Yeah, it becomes a read-only copy for them at that point. But if they just wanted to use it as a view-only thing or to build the projects out,
sure.
Then they would probably use the main repo. But as such, code changes would go against just your repository. So yeah, let's probably do you have the both the repositories on your machine or just your fork?
I was looking at that now. I think I have both.
Okay, so in that case, let's just add your repository, and then let's do a clone of ADM plugin so we can show how to use both in the source tree.
Okay.
And then we will show how to create an upstream project also, so in case you have to sync changes onto your repository.
All right. Tell me what to do.
Yep. So there are two things you can do in source tree. You could add an existing project if you've already cloned it from GitHub, if you've downloaded it from GitHub. If you don't have an existing project, you can hit the clone button and download the code from GitHub. So the first, over here, Stuart already has his own adapt repository on his machine. So let's go ahead and click the plus button at the bottom of the screen. And you can just click on add working copy. And Stuart, you could go browse and select the repository you have on your machine.
All right. So here is the, there's the root folder, right? So what am I drilling down to? Am I drilling down to the
yeah, just
product?
No, I think that's the level you want. So click on it, just copy that.
All right.
And this automatically recognizes that this is a Git repository. You can see the repository type over there. And now you can hit add.
Add.
And now you have the ADAPT project. And it's going to ask you to provide the credentials of GitHub over here, so it knows how to pull the. It's mainly used to show your commit. So when you do a commit, it's going to show the name as you've entered over here, and the email address.
Yeah, note it's not asking for your username and password here. This is the full name and email address that will appear in the signature of your commit if you have the sign-off flag enabled.
Yep. And the tool which Stuart is using over here is called SourceTree. You can go to sourcetreeapp.com to get this tool. It's a free tool out there. It's one of the recommended tools for GitHub. It's got a lot of features in here when it comes to comparison and committing source code. So yeah, go ahead and hit OK over here.
Okay. Why is it?
Okay. So over here, you look, it pulls up the file status. And Stuart, if you could go into the log history tab at the bottom.
The log history tab. Okay.
So this shows all the commits, and it's got this graph about how things were merged. So over here you see that there is this uncommitted changes, and so these are the changes which Stuart has on his local repo. And so you can click on any of those files out there, and you can see what has changed. So why don't you click on one of them? You're going to see what has changed over there. You can even right-click on a particular file. So why don't you right-click on catalog and do an external diff.
Yes. By the way, what exactly happens when you click external diff depends on what diff tools you have installed on your local computer. And you can go into the source tree settings and specify a different diff tool if you have multiple installed. A popular one that's free for both Windows and Linux is KDiff, KDIFF. I am fortunate to have Araxis Merge installed on my workstation, but whatever diff tools you have, it will try to use. SourceTree does not seem to have its own.
Yeah, so if you go into Tools and hit Options, Stuart.
Tools and Options, and I don't think I actually have any external diff tools on. I do everything through Visual Studio, so.
Yeah, so if you have one of those tools installed, then it's going to pull up this difference view. And like Tim said, we use Araxis Merge is pretty good in terms of merging. It's got it's got a three-way merge in case there are conflicts, and it knows how to take care of things over there.
It's very good, but non-free.
Yeah.
And so if you're worried about your software budget, I would recommend KDiff.
So do the tools options pull up for you, Stuart?
Yes, though I think probably because we're doing this sharing thing, it's actually not sharing the sub window. So just a second, let me see if I can get it to share the options window. There we go.
Yeah, so there you've got the diff options, and in that, if you click on the external diff tools drop down, you can select any of, if you install one of those, like Tim said, if you're going to install KDiff.
I do actually have to be on compare, so
yeah, let's try that out and see if that works. And if you look at the other tabs over there, which Stuart had.
Hang on, I'll bring them back.
yeah, so we'll just talk to them so that.
Okay.
So we've got the general tab, the first tab. And over here, you can see that you can give your full name, email address. If you're going to have SSH keys, then you can provide it over here. And there's a lot of other repo settings and commit settings. And you can select them if you're going to use any of those. And then you've got this Get tab out there. And these are just your like your ignore list and what you want to do with your repository. So if you want to say you want to use rebase instead of merge, then you can select it out here. And there are various other options, and it's all going to depend on your taste. It depends on how you want to do code commits and your preference.
I would add that rebase versus merge and a lot of these other settings are personal preference. I would recommend leaving them at the default settings until you are confident enough to know what you're playing with. The one request I would ask, I would make, if you are contributing to adapt, please don't ever enable force push, that checkbox down there. Force push allows you to make any breaking change of any kind and push it out to break the repository for the whole rest of the world as well. Please don't do that. The other settings, by all means, play around and learn and experiment.
Yeah. So the other important tab over here is if you go to authentication, that's going to have your credentials. So if your password changes, you want to control your GitHub username, you will do it out here. And similarly, you have network. If you're going to have proxy settings and all the other things you need to configure, then you can do it out here. I mean, these are probably the places where you might get stuck when you're trying to talk to the external world. You might have firewall policies and all of that. So please use these screens to ensure that you have the right access. And I think that's most of source control options. So let's go back to the actual project now. Yeah, so over here we, do you want to try out the external diff now that you have Beyond
Sure.
Compare?
And it did spawn it, even though I'm sure it's not sharing it. Just a minute and I'll switch over to it.
So yeah, so you've got this nice diff now, so you can, and this would support even three-way merge. So if you have changes on your machine, if you've got changes on the repository out there and now we need to merge, these tools work really great because it's going to show a three-way window where you can see your local copy, you can see the remote copy, and what's been merged into the center window. And over here it shows what's been added or what's been removed. You can see all the differences, and you can do changes in here, and once you hit exit, it's going to ask if you want to save it or not. So these are good tools to have for comparison. So once you have all the diffs looked at, and now we are ready to commit these changes, you'll have to stage your file. So you can have a lot of changes on your particular workspace, but you could select what you want. In this case, if you're comfortable staging all, you can just hit that stage all button, and that's going to move everything from the bottom up, and it's going to show all the different things in the stage files area. It's going to show what has been added, what has been removed, and all have different icons. So you can see the minuses changes. If there is you scroll down, you can see a few files which have got added to. Yeah, so this was a rename. So you can see that the file was renamed from ID type enum to compound identifier type enum. So, and it has this icon which is an R, and GitHub already recognizes that this was this previous file, and it just says that it's going to change this particular file into this new file, and it's all done automatically. You don't have to go say that this is the new file. Now, once you're ready with all these files, you can hit on the commit button on the top. And you could give your commit message. As part of our code governance, we require that you sign off, and it's part of the open source model that you sign off on your messages. So we'll hit on that drop down which says commit options on the right. You can click on sign off, and that's going to automatically add the message for you. So whatever you type over here along with the sign off is going to be committed. And Stuart, we need not do the commit now. We can probably do it as part of the next session, which is going to be how to do the pull request. We could probably jump on to showing how to do an upstream and explain what an upstream project is.
Sure. Tell me where to go from here.
Yeah, so you can go back to log history. So we are in that same view. Over here on the left-hand side, if you look in the adapt, under adapt, you've got file status, which is your working copy. You've got your branches. It lists all your branches over there, and it lists all your remotes too. So you've got the adapt and the origin. Since you have a local or your own private repo, which is in this case it's going to be Stuart Rhea's private repo, and you could have changes on the main repository also. And sometimes it's easier to just do a pull into your repository and get all the changes. Again, there are multiple ways to do this. You can do a merge with the primary repository, and sometimes GitHub will not allow you to do it if the changes are complex and it doesn't know how to merge them. I think the best practice is commit your changes and pull down any changes from the upstream project, which is going to be the main adapt repository. Pull them into your project, do any merges which exist, and then do a push and create a pull request. And to create an upstream project, you would hit on the repository button.
Hit the repository button. Okay, here.
I think that's getting cut off. Why don't you hit on the adapt? Double click on the adapt on the left hand side on your tree view.
Okay.
Or right click.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you seeing the context menu that comes up or not?
No, it's getting cut off. Can you minimize your window or?
Come on. Let me do it over here. Okay. How about now?
There you go.
Yeah, so if you are actually, yeah, now let's go back to repository. So go back to the repository button on top.
The repository button on top, okay.
And click on the first one, which is repository settings. I know it's getting cut off, but that's the first option.
All right.
And now over here, you see, okay, it automatically did both the remote repository paths for Stuart. So here you see there is one which says adapt and one which is origin. And adapt is going to be an upstream project. And if you want to rename that to upstream so that you know that you're pulling from upstream, you can do that. And that's, again, a common name that's used. And if you want to edit it, you can do it. Let's do it. Yeah, just change that to upstream. Yep. And now, so you have two projects over here. Everything is going to be based off your origin when you do your pulls and push. And if you hit OK over here and close this off, the way you pull from your origin is you hit the pull button, and over here you see pull from remote. You can select origin, which is your repository, or you can select adapt, upstream adapt. Yep. And then you would select your remote branch over here. So you would select the master because most of adapt is going to be under master branch. we would not be doing changes. We would want to avoid branches within the adapt main repository. So over here, what it's going to do is it's going to pull any changes from the upstream adapt into the local branch which Stuart has, or the private repository Stuart has. In this case, there are no changes, so I would just hit cancel over here, but this is how we would do merges from the main repository into your local repository. So that's about Upstream project. And if you have to clone a new project from GitHub, you could hit on the clone or the new button on the top. And Stuart, if you could go and get the ADM plugins link and paste it out there.
Okay.
And you would get the source path URL if you go to github.com/adapt plugin, the ADM plugin. It's going to show you the link to clone the repository. So you just copy that and paste it out here. It's going to end with .git. Okay. So yeah, over here you have github.com/adapt/ADM plugin.git. And if you tab into the destination path and provide a directory where you can clone it.
Now again, this isn't my, okay, let's put it here. Oh, I already had it here. Okay.
Yeah, you can select a new folder, that's okay. You can say ADM plugin 2 or ADM plugin main, doesn't matter.
All right, new folder. All right.
So over here again, it recognizes that is a Git repository, and now when you hit on clone, it's going to download the code from GitHub, and it's going to put it into your local repository. And yeah, so if you go into log history, you see all the changes in here. And again, if you want to create an upstream project for this, you can do that similar to how we did for the first project. Go to repository and create an upstream so you can maintain your local copy. As well as you can get changes from your main repository into your local copy. Best practices for merging when you want to create a pull request into GitHub.
Okay, I shouldn't have any local changes.
Yeah,
right?
you don't. Yeah, these are not local changes. So if you look over there, it says that you are at the master, origin head. So these are not changes. So if you look at your adapt screen versus your ADM screen, in the adapt screen, it actually calls out as uncommitted changes. So uncommitted changes are the ones which are not being committed to your branch yet.
Gotcha.
And the ones which are tagged are the ones. So the develop over there, the tag on the adapt screen is saying that that's part of the develop branch. It's the origin master, the origin head, and the master. So everything is merged at the same level. Your develop branch is also merged with the master branch. That's what it means. If in this case there is an upstream adapt change, it's going to show that too. Let's see if you can scroll down a little bit on the adapt project. Yeah, you see over here there is this origin GH pages. The GH pages are nothing but the wiki pages for GitHub. So it's going to show where you are at. So if upstream adapt is going to be a tag over there, then it's going to show at which level you are. So it's just a visual representation of the changes which are in the main repository versus what's in yours. So any questions on how SourceTree works, or the things you can do with SourceTree? And again, push is similar. If you just want to show the push functionalities to what you hit on the push button. You don't have changes now, so it's not going to do anything. So here again, you do the same thing. You select your local branch, and you want to select which remote branch you want to push to. You could be pushing from a different branch on your machine to a different branch on the remote. All that's possible. You can even select which repository you want to push to. Over here, you've selected origin as default. You could select a different, say you're working with 2 other folks on the changes for adapt. So if it's 2 developers working on a particular change, you can push changes to a different fork out there. So you can get your changes in there and synced up. Just helps with different people working on the same stuff.
Alternately, I like to use forks if I am, or branches. I mean, if I'm working on a very large change that is going to take me many commits over the course of several days, but I still want to get the code off of my local computer. So create a branch for whatever giant change you're working on. Continue pushing all of your commits to that branch. And when you see the light at the end of the tunnel and you get that big feature done, then you merge the entire branch into master. Ordinarily, I try to make smaller changes and just commit them directly to the master branch.
Yeah, so that's SoStree 101. There's a lot of help available online on how to use these tools. If you prefer the command line over SoStree, you can go from here. You can hit on the repository button or the tools button, and that would take you to the command.
But we're kind of assuming that if someone is looking to use Git from the command line, they're not the type of person who wants to sit through a video tutorial on how to get started in GitHub.
Yeah. So if you hit on actions, you can say show in terminal, and that's if you want to do stuff from the command line, then you can do it out. You can do from there. I think that's the third option from the top, show in terminal. Again, there could be a mix and match of how to do things between the terminal and the GUI, but the SoStree has almost all features you can think of when it comes to GitHub. It's pretty up to date, so you should be able to do everything here. So there are no questions, then we could move on to the next session of how to create an actual pull request.
So once you've pushed your code out to your fork of the repository.
You want to talk about the uncommitted changes, how to commit them? It's not a question.
Oh, sure. We're at a slightly different. I should pay more attention. So if you switch to uncommitted changes, Stuart, so that we can actually create a commit here. Now, you've previously staged all the files that you want to commit, and where is the actual commit button?
Yeah, so if you hit the commit button now.
Up in the top left, next to, it will ask you for a commit message describing your changes. And as we previously saw under that commit options drop down, you want to enable sign off, which looks like you already did.
Yeah, it's going to remember the preference once you do it, once you click on that sign off button. And again, in our previous session, we spoke about using in the commit message the issues that have been worked on. In this case, we have worked on quite some issues. So it would be good to track those issues over here by putting it as part of your commit message.
All right. So exactly how to do this with.
Yeah, so if you just start typing a quick description of your commit, but going back and forth to GitHub if you worked on a specific issue and you want to reference it in your commit message, you can just copy and paste or type the issue number complete with the hashtag at the front of it. And once this commit is pushed out to GitHub, it will magically turn that issue number into a link. Cool.
I think in the future, I'll probably simply try to, well, what do we want to do? You know, do somebody fix one thing at a time and issue that pull request, you know, and then wait? Or, you know, what does that workflow look like for us?
Personally, I like to create one commit per issue, but combine a bunch of them into one pull request.
Okay.
So each individual commit then is reversible, and if we decide we didn't like the fix for a particular issue, I can revert that without reverting all of my changes. But since people have been really good so far about creating very small, granular issues that document a specific thing, I'll often just roll up a whole lot of individual fixes.
And Stuart, over here, it's probably enough if you reference the issue number, because you, like Tim said, you're going to have a link back to the actual issue. So you could just put a comma separated #101, 102.
At the same time, though, this is decent documentation on the commit. I'm not a stickler on what commit messages should look like. It should either contain enough information to summarize what you're trying to do, or it should contain links to some place where you can find other information.
The good news is I think that covers almost covers everything. Hang on just a minute. I found a couple of more things that I had fixed here. Again, you know, I should have done this with individual commits to my own fork before trying to roll all this up together. I apologize for that, but I am still learning.
That's all right. Since it doesn't show up too well on the screen, just note that I think what Stuart's doing is copying the issues, the numbers and descriptions from the GitHub issues screen and dropping them in the commit message here.
And yeah, if you're not working on an issue and you're just doing some changes, make sure you type in a message on a commit message based on what you worked on. Make it as detailed as possible if, on what you're doing. And if possible, try to do smaller commits so it's easier to read, like Tim said, and easier to roll back if needed.
I think this is the last one.
Cool. So once you're ready, you just hit the commit button.
All right, right here. And
yep.
Boop.
And once it's done its magic, if you hit push.
So here you notice where your the one below develop is at the upstream adapt master, which means that all your changes are in sync with the upstream, with the origin and the master, but you have a separate develop branch since you're working off it. So now we need to push these changes into the master branch. So when you hit on push over here,
hit on push right here. Okay.
And now we want to see to which branches you want to push. So you can push this to develop, or you can say push from develop into my master. You can merge your branch if you want to at this point.
What should I do?
I believe your changes are in a develop branch on your local copy, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So select that local branch develop, and we're going to push it to remote branch master.
Rather than create a remote branch develop on my fork.
If you want to do that, you can do that too. There are two ways to do that. If you hit on cancel out here.
Well, if you select develop here as the remote branch, it will do exactly that. It will create a develop branch on your fork out in GitHub.com, and you can create a pull request from adapt origin master branch to your fork's develop branch, and which workflow you prefer is entirely up to you.
Yeah. So like Tim said, that's one option. You can create a pull request between your repositories. Or over here, I could again do from develop to master. And the third option, if you hit cancel over here, just so we can just show how to do it, you can hit on the merge button on the top.
Merge button on the top. Okay.
And now you can merge your branches too if you want to. In this case, we're not going to do that, so you can hit cancel. Actually, if you hit on the branch button on the top, not the merge button, I'm sorry.
Branch button on the top, okay.
So here you can maintain your branches, you can delete your branches too, and yeah, you can merge the branches like how it's on the merge screen, yes.
Aha, okay. Okay.
So yeah, why don't we go ahead and push changes from your develop to develop and your master to master, and then we can do a pull request within your repository itself.
Okay.
And
so
then
do
we
I
can
need
do
to...
a pull request. Yeah.
Well, you don't have changes on master, right?
No, I don't. I don't have changes on my local master.
Okay, so you can leave that one.
Okay, so hit push.
Yes, sir.
Oop.
Once the progress bar stops moving here, your changes will show up in the GitHub.com user interface.
And if you want to see what's happening, you can click on show full output. Now you can see that there is a develop and there's an origin develop, which means it's create a branch called develop on github.com for you.
All
so
right.
Go to github.com and we can do the pull request out there.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is drag my browser over here, and I'm going to switch to get back to, oh, come on, help a brother out here. Just a second, let me. And then I'll have to change my sharing in just a second. Change to...
While he switches sharing, I don't know if anyone noticed the create pull request checkbox on the commit screen inside of SourceTree. I have no idea how or whether that works, and feel free to experiment with it at some point and see if it's a cool alternative. I always come back to the GitHub.com browser interface.
And yeah, over here you see it's automatically it says that you have a new branch and you can compare and do a pull request.
Is that the button I want to click now?
We actually, if you want to create a pull request, yep. So you can edit the title and body of the pull request.
And yeah,
by default, it takes the text from your commit message and just drops it in the pull request.
Yeah, and make sure you selected your base fork as since you're doing between your develop and your master. So let's.
No that's problem.
Interesting to note.
Okay,
up
so
here, yeah. So the base fork is where we're sending the code, and it should actually. Let's see. Where did we? We're in the branch view. Stuart, if you hit the little compare across forks link.
In this case, do we want to do a
yeah,
merge?
it'll work.
Okay.
Hang on. Let's merge this into my master branch first. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then my master to the adapt master. Okay.
Okay.
I apologize if it's a little confusing. I'm trying to understand this as much, I guess, as anybody else watching this thing. So
sure.
So if you scroll down, you can see the changes. So yeah, you're going to branch to the base master with your develop. Good.
Right.
And you can see all the changes between those two repositories. So if you scroll down, it's going to show that 16 files have changed and all the different changes out there. You can compare and just make sure that things look good. And once you feel everything is okay, you can go ahead and create a pull request with the title.
Okay, so I need to give this a title, which ought to be something more than Stuart's first pull request. But let's say initial cut at model source.
One other thing I would like to show is when we clicked on sign off the request, so if you look at the description before you hit the create pull request, so it says signed off by Stuart down over there. So if you're using command line, make sure that you're adding that as part of your commit message. You can do this manually too. Yeah, so you have a pull request, and at this point you'll want to merge this. Since it's your local copy, you would have the permissions to merge it into your branch. So you would hit merge pull request, and again you can give a different pull request message if you want. So yeah, so you've got your pull request. It's going to give you an option to delete the branch over here if needed, if you don't want to maintain all those different branches. If you want, yes, you can do it, or you can do it at a later point. So if you go back to the history view of GitHub, if you click on code, now we should see that it's merged the pull request over here. And if you go back to source tree, you should see the same thing. We won't be doing it over here, just not to switch windows. And at this point, the branch has been merged with the master. And now let's walk through creating a pull request from Stuart's private branch to the adapt repository.
Cool. So now if we're going to create a request to pull the changes from Stuart's fork into the central adapt repository. And yeah, if we hit new pull request, here's where it's hard to find, but you need to hit that compare across forks link. And I am leading you astray because I think we actually were in the correct view.
Yeah, no, just hit the...
Yeah, there we go. So your base fork is adapt. That looks correct. That's what we would like to merge into. And the head fork is your adapt fork. And note the master here. Had you not gone ahead and merged your branches, you could select a different branch here. So you could merge from develop into master. In this case, Stuart was thorough and went ahead and merged develop into master. And so, yeah, we'll compare master against master. That way, Stuart, if you make additional changes to the develop branch before we accept this pull request, those changes will not become part of this pull request that you are creating now.
Accident. So
yeah,
I'm accidentally, my OCD has accidentally paid off for us here.
Yes. If we tried to create a pull request directly against your develop branch, then any additional changes you push to the develop branch before we accept that pull request would become part of the pull request.
Good
anyway,
to know. Good to know.
Go ahead and hit the create pull request.
All right.
And you'll see that same screen that we had before to throw in a title and comments and whatever. I just copy the title and whatever from what I had on my fork.
Okay, so I think I said something like initial. Now, question. You know, all those the comments and stuff that I had in that original pull request that I merged into my master. Will they eventually find themselves in the change log for the main adapt repo?
Yes. So the commit messages, and you can see the commits.
There they are, right there. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, your commit messages are going to come in, but if you're going to have commit comments on your repository, those will not come in here. But again, those are part of your private repository.
Gotcha.
But yeah, commit messages are going to come in here.
Excellent. Okay. All right.
So yeah, so this shows that there are 16 change files with 43 additions and 25 deletions. You could write a description if you want to. If not, you can go ahead and create a pull request. And once a pull request is created, it's going to show up on the pull request screen of Adapt. And people who are watching this are going to be notified of this new pull request. And as part of the weekly process, the weekly technical meetings, we are going to review this pull request. We're going to go through in detail about the changes, all the files that are modified. And once we find all the changes are good enough, one of the source code leads are going to accept the pull request, and we can either close the pull request or we can merge it in. We can add our comments in here. We can keep track of changes. If we find that a particular file needs to change, so we could request the whoever is contributing code to go back and do changes and commit it back. And like Tim pointed out, when you do a new commit, it's going to automatically show up under the same pull request, so you don't have to create a new pull request. So whatever changes you're doing to that particular branch, in this case, since it's master, all those commits are going to show up under this pull request.
So a little bit of GitHub magic. Stuart, would you please click on that commit?
Okay, hang on. Which one?
It says your account added some commits 15 minutes ago, and it has your commit message there above the merge.
Dude, I am completely blind at the moment. Give me a second here. Okay.
You can also just hit the commits tab.
Yeah, right next to conversations.
Why am I blind? Because I'm not seeing it. Hang on.
Yeah, so you've got the green button which says open. Below that you have conversations and commits.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So click that.
And if you click on that first commit message, plan and recommendation should have.
Yeah.
So now all of those hashtag numbers that you copied over have magically become links, and you can hop directly from here to the referenced issue in GitHub. And it's automatically updated these issues with a note that you referenced it in a commit.
Okay. I see.
So when we go to the review phase, it helps me a lot when we're jumping through the pull request, going, all right, what is this? What all does it cover? It just gives us a quick way to tie everything together in GitHub.
Yeah, and as part of the process, we would even close out an issue if the code's accepted. So we would merge the pull request, and you would close out issues too. If you look at the issues tab, there are 22 open, and we have closed out a lot in the past. And if you want to look at all the closed issues, if you go back to the issues tab over there,
11, 12,
there is a filter set.
14. So we're about to nuke 14 out of the 22.
Yeah. So if you hit on the filters over there, by default it says is issue is open. So if you remove the one which says is open on the filters,
right here.
Yep. You would want to leave is issues so that it's just pulling issues. You could just type is issues, is colon issues.
You can also just click on the 15 closed if you want to.
Yeah. So here it shows 24 open and 86 closed, so you can scroll through the list and see what have been closed in the past. You can look at comments and see what commits have happened. You can see how things have been merged. Just gives an idea of how to merge pull requests, how to log issues, and how do we fix them. And over here, if you notice, the numbers are shared between pull request and issues, and that's because of the hashtag option, where when you do a hashtag number, it's going to pull up pull that up in the commit message or in the merge issue message or pull request message. So it is a single set of numbers.
Excellent. So we'll review this on Wednesday at the technical meeting.
Yep. And I think that's about all I had to show. The GitHub interface is a little busy, and it takes a little time, a little effort clicking around and trying to get used to where everything is. But it's a pretty powerful tool.
Well, I don't know if anybody else will benefit from this, but I certainly have. So thank you, gentlemen.
And that concludes the video on using GitHub with Adapt. Big thanks to Tim Shearouse and Tarak Reddy with John Deere, and Stuart Rhea with Ag Connections. And thanks to all of you who are interested in learning about AgGateway, its activities, and its resources. Be sure to check out other videos in the AgGateway Global Network video series. Take care and goodbye.